your girl Destiny Austin, and we are back with another episode of Destiny's Diary. Today we're going to be cooking in the kitchen. We're going to have some dinner time with the Austins. We got the whole family in here, so it might be a bit loud, so I'll try to speak up. But today we're going to be making lasagna. Okay, lasagna is a cool little simple meal that kids love, and it's a little twist on spaghetti. I'm not sure if you've heard of lasagna before. If you have, you know how great it is. If you haven't, we're about to make it. But before we get started, do not forget to subscribe. Click that subscribe button, it's gonna be to the right of your screen. And don't forget to hit your notification bell so you get all your updates about every time I post. Okay guys, let's get started making lasagna. To get started, let's talk about our ingredients and what we're gonna need. I've actually got everything here, so I didn't have to make any store runs. So first and foremost, what you're gonna need is ground beef. A nice, depending on the size that you're making, you may need a little bit more, but I only need this amount for my family. Then you will need lasagna noodles. Lasagna noodles are a great thing. Typically, again, depending on the size of your pan, you'll need about 6 lasagna noodles. Between 6 to 9 lasagna noodles, depending on your pan. Also, you are going to need spaghetti sauce. Spaghetti sauce, I use the traditional one just to keep it simple, but they have a lot of different flavors. If you want to try to mix it up and do something different, you can try different ones. Ricotta cheese, you will also need ricotta cheese. This is gonna be our glue that's gonna hold all of our layers together. So you'll need ricotta cheese, and to go along with ricotta cheese, you will need 1 egg. 1 egg, ricotta cheese, 1 egg. Cheese, you will need cheese, and you will also need an onion and a green pepper. As for your pans, you will need a regular size baking pan. A regular size baking pan you will need. And then you will also need a pan to make your ground beef in. You will also need a pot to cook your lasagna noodles in. And then I'm gonna be making green beans with my meal tonight, so I've also got a pot for my green beans. So now that we've got everything that we need, let's get started.
So guys, first we're gonna start with all of our prep work. We're gonna go ahead and get all of our onions chopped up, and I like to chop my onions up really, really small. I hate eating food and you've got big old chunks of onions in there, so I dice them up really, 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 really small. And then we're gonna move on to our green peppers. We're gonna do the same thing with the green peppers. I like to dice them up really, really small, just tiny little diced chunks of green peppers. Now we're going to start with our ricotta cheese. Again, like I said, this is going to be our glue for to hold all of our layers together in our lasagna. So we're going to add our 1 egg to the rest of our ricotta cheese and just stir it, stir it, stir it.
Okay, so now that we've got all the prep done, we're going to go ahead and start boiling our water for our lasagna noodles. Sorry, pregnancy brain. Lasagna noodles. We're going to go ahead and start boiling the water for that, and then we're also going to go ahead and get our green beans started. So let's get started with green beans, and let's let the lasagna noodles start boiling.
Okay, so we filled our pot up with water about halfway, and I am now adding our salt to the water. This is just a little trick that I have learned from my mom, that you put salt in there before you put the noodles in there and you bring it to a boil. So once you put your noodles in, the noodles won't stick together. Okay, so now we're going to start on our green beans. We've already got the green beans in the pot with just a tad bit of water because we like our green beans steamed. I've already added onions, and then now I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of drops of lemon juice. And then next, I season them with salt. And we're going to add some pepper. And we're going to add some accent. Now we're just going to cut the stove on to about a medium high with the top on it and let it steam. Moving on to our meat. Now we're going to start cooking the ground beef. As you see, I'm just pulling it apart in our pan. We go ahead and pull it apart, pull it apart. I did pull this meat out of the freezer earlier today, so it is technically thawed out, but in the middle there are still some frozen pieces, so I'm just kind of breaking it all up until we get it all nice and broken up in the pan. Now we're going to grab those green peppers and onions that we chopped up earlier and dump those right into our ground beef meat in the pan. And now we're going to get ready to season. We're going to start with our salt, accent, and pepper. We turn our stove onto a medium high, and we just start blending all of our onions and our green peppers and our meat together as the oven gets hot and start cooking. Now that we've got our water up to a boil, we're gonna go ahead and add our lasagna noodles. We're gonna count out about 6 of those and add those into the water. Back to our meat, we're just going to continue to stir and blend, stir and blend. And I actually like to chop up my ground beef with my fork because I hate big chunks of ground beef. So I stir, blend, and chop. Stir, blend, and chop. We continue stirring and blending and chopping until our meat starts to brown. As it browns, we definitely want to make sure we're turning it over because we don't want it to burn on the bottom. So we just continue to do that until we have a full pan of brown meat. Now that our ground beef is done, we cut off our stove and we just kind of continue to stir because it is now time to drain. Now we're going to take that pan full of meat and go ahead and drain it into our strainer. Don't forget all those good and yummy sauteed onions and green peppers. After you get everything in the pan, I like to go back and just kind of stir it and make sure we get all that grease out of there before we dump into our bowl for the next step. Now it's time to get started with making our lasagna. So we're going to take our Prego sauce and dump it into our meat. And I like to use every ounce of the Prego sauce, so I get just a tad bit of water, shake it up. And then we're going to dump all the rest of that back out into our bowl as well. Then we're going to stir it all up. Stir it all up, stir it, girl. So we can get that ready for our meat sauce for our lasagna. Now that we've got all of our ingredients ready, we've got our marinara sauce, we've got our ricotta cheese, and we've got our cheese, and we've got our noodles, we're gonna start with our lasagna. So I like to pour just a tad bit of marinara sauce at the bottom of the pan so that the noodles will not stick to the bottom of the pan. So that's what you see me doing right now. And then we're gonna go ahead and get ready to grab our first set of noodles. And we're gonna align them in the pan right next to each other, laying flat. Now, some of your noodles may be a little bent up just from being in the pan. That's okay, you just kind of flatten them out as best as you can. Once you add your layers, they will flatten out. Next, we're gonna take the ricotta cheese and we're gonna spread it across each noodle. Again, like I said, this is our glue that's gonna hold our layers together. So we're gonna make sure we get a nice bit of that on each noodle. Next, we'll be taking our meat sauce and we're gonna cover the whole top of those noodles with meat sauce. Yes, the goal is gonna be to make sure we cover the whole top of all of the noodles with the meat sauce so we have a nice layer of meat sauce on top of the ricotta cheese. Now we take a big chunk of cheese and just cover all the meat sauce with a layer of cheese. So now we're going to go ahead and speed this along as we do the second layer again the exact same way. And you can actually do this as many times as you would like. For my kids, I can't do too many layers because it becomes too thick for them. But you know, for other people who like thicker layers, you're more than welcome to do this as many times as you would like until the top of your pan is full. Last up at the end, I will add some Parmesan cheese to just cover the top because I like the top nice and cheesy.
Okay, so now that we've got the lasagna all nice and assembled, we've got our oven preheated to 350. We're gonna go ahead and pop this in the oven, and then we're gonna get the garlic bread ready. We're gonna get the garlic bread ready, and then we're gonna check on our green beans. Make sure everything is looking good because it's almost time to eat. In the oven, 350. All right, our green beans are looking great. So we just steamed those. They still got their color. Got our little onions in there. Got our seasoned Got them nice and seasoned. So green beans are done. We're gonna let those kind of just sit and cool down until the lasagna is ready. So just as a little treat, I always make my kids garlic bread when we have any type of pasta, whether it's spaghetti, whether it's pasta shells, whether it's lasagna, whatever the case is, we typically always have garlic bread. So we're gonna pop this out and go ahead and get this ready as well. Because once the lasagna comes out, we're gonna let it sit and settle and gel together, and we'll put the garlic bread in the oven. That can cook, so once that gets done, we're ready to eat. So this is actually the New York Texas toast. My husband, he must have been a little fancy today because we normally use the Kroger brand Texas toast. It's just as good, but for whatever reason, he did the New York Texas toast. So it's super easy to make. You just put it on the aluminum foil, with, lay all the pieces out flat, cook it at 350 in the oven for about 10 minutes, and it comes out so crispy and yummy, and it's so great with lasagna. So everything's almost done. Let's get everybody ready to eat. All right, let's check on our lasagna. Good. Cheese has melted and it's looking good. We're gonna give it just a few more minutes and then we will take it out. All right, we're ready to go ahead and pull out our lasagna. Let's pull it out.
Winner!
Ready to what?
Eat! I like it.
Is it yummy, boys?
Yummy and my tummy.
Thumbs up. Yummy. Yeah. How is it, honey?
Great. Great.
Carson almost finished his plate. You better stop that up, boy. Mousy, yummy. Good. All right, guys, so it's now finally time for me to eat. I've got my plate with my food and time for me to eat, and I just want to close out by saying this was a super simple meal. Maybe took me about 45 minutes max. Didn't take long to make, as long as you got all of your ingredients and your meat's thawed out. Should not take you long to make it all. So before we go, guys, always remember that your kids appreciate you for everything that you do, and a woman who fears the Lord, her children will rise up and are blessed. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.